Hey Dr. Jen, so this is my core demo. I'll be discussing the four exercises you want us to demonstrate. The first being the side plank. The side plank is a good exercise for increasing core strength and stability. It primarily works the obliques, and it actually also works the lower back muscles, so it's good at stabilizing the core area, and not just what we would think, just the abdominals, but it's definitely a complete core and trunk workout. So to perform the side plank, what we're going to do is we're going to get on our side with our feet stacked, and then we're going to lay on our side and have our forearms slightly above our shoulder in placement. And then with our core contracted, we are going to lift off the floor, making sure that we keep a nice neutral position. And then we're going to hold that position for an allotted amount of time. So this is an example of what a side plank would look like. One thing we want to avoid is dropping the hips, so not getting up high enough, and actually going a little bit above a straight line is okay. It's good at increasing lateral hip mobility. So you find that sometimes people will do plank thrusts where they go down and then they go up, and this will help with your lateral hip strength. So that's it. That's how you perform a side plank. One way to regress the side plank is simply by bending your feet. By bending your knees or bending at the knees like so. What this does, it gives you a wider base, and it also gives you more balance because your base is wider. So in essence, it makes the workout a little bit easier to perform. And you would do the same thing, keep your arm in the same placement. You would contract your core, and then you would just lift up and hold this position for the allotted amount of time. Now, you can progress this by using a dumbbell, of course, and you can either hold a dumbbell at your side, or you can elevate your arm and hold the dumbbell at your arm. Hold the dumbbell, I'm getting tired. Hold your dumbbell in the air, making sure you keep that hip up the entire time. Another progression that I've seen is using your top leg and placing it over in front of you, in front of your other leg, in front of the thigh, keeping that foot still flat, keeping that forearm in the same place, and lifting and holding this position as well. And then down. So things to consider: making sure not to drop the hips. It's very important that you try to keep proper form and keep your body in a neutral position to avoid injury. So making sure not to drop your hip is very important. We're also not engaging the right muscles when we do that, and we're putting additional strain on our shoulders. Another thing to consider is a lot of people like to tell their clients, or they believe themselves, that arm placement should be directly under your shoulders. But there are a lot of yogis who actually don't support that idea, and mainly because when you have your arm directly under your shoulder, you put a lot of tension and stress on your shoulder. Also, if you're going to do a even more difficult form of the side plank, which would involve using an extended arm, like so, having your arm directly under your shoulder puts your wrist at a 90-degree angle like this, and see that, and puts unnecessary stress on on your wrist. So it's advised to kind of have that arm placement a little bit slightly above the shoulder area so that you can take that 90-degree angle out of your wrist, and in that way you're losing some tension in there and you're not overstressing your wrist area. And what else? I said arm placement, your hip placement, dropping your hip, and not contracting your core. Obviously, the side plank is a core workout, so it's very important that your core is engaged the entire time. Another thing to consider is having your glutes engaged also. It's something that usually happens naturally when you get into the position. Your body naturally clenches your butt cheeks in order to keep you stable, but sometimes that just isn't the case once you lose form. If you're dropping below, if you're dropping the hip, you might lose form, and so your glutes aren't going to be engaged there. So just making sure that the core is engaged throughout the workout, that you're not dropping your hip. Sorry, I'm winded. That you're not dropping your hip when you are performing the workout, and making sure that you have that really good forearm positioning or extended arm positioning when you're doing it a little bit above the shoulder, so as to take excessive pressure and stress off of your shoulder and your wrist. Good morning, Dr. Jen. So my husband's gonna demonstrate how to do a straight leg overhead sit-up. I have a hip impingement that prevents me from doing straight leg sit-ups. So he's gonna demonstrate that for us. So the first thing we want to do is we want to get our client to lay on their back and get their body in a position of attention with their feet together and their knees also together. Terrell, can you put your knees and feet together, please?
My knees can't go together.
Okay.
They don't touch.
Okay. Ideally, you want your feet and knees to be as close together as possible and your hands at your side. Going to bend at the waist, extending your arms above your head, and coming up into a classic sit-up position. Terrell, can you demonstrate that for us, please? Oh my gosh. So one thing we want to try to do is make sure that our feet do not come off the floor. Terrell has his range of motion isn't the best, so he struggles with that at times, but ideally we want to keep our legs and our feet on the floor as we come up to the position, and make sure that our arms are at our ears and our back and our torso are elevated and straight. Terrell, can you demonstrate another one, please? So each time we perform a rep, we also want to make sure that our core is engaged each time. We want to make sure there's no rounding of the back so as not to put undue stress on our lower back. And we want to make sure that we keep our breathing. I'm sorry, he looks like he's dying. We want to make sure our breathing is paced. Terrell, you can lay back down now. So now Terrell is going to progress this. We're going to progress it first. He's going to progress this sit-up by using a dumbbell. The dumbbell is going to add additional resistance, and it's also going to prove. Is this one too heavy for you?
Yeah. You see me struggling?
It's gonna the added weight is going to increase resistance. It's also gonna be a little bit of an arm workout there too, while he's engaging his core. So Terrell, can we go ahead and demonstrate what an overhead straight leg sit-up looks like? One thing we want to make sure is we're not swinging our arms we're not swinging our arms in order to gain momentum. We want to make sure that we push through our chest and bend at our hips, and then elevate the weight at the side of our ears. Okay, Terrell, go ahead and demonstrate. You need me to hold your feet? Okay.
Okay with that.
And up, Terrell, reach to the sky.
That is up.
And come back down.
As far as they go.
Okay, so let's try that one more time, Terrell. Up to the sky. And then as you come down, you can actually lower the weight kind of to your chest to bring it down some. And bring it down. Sort of like a row, like this. Okay? Let's try that one more time. So put it out and sort of like coming up like this.
I think I get what you're saying.
All right, let's try that one more time. So put it, there you go. Good job, Terrell. Look at you trooping out. Look at my client, Dr. Jen. You should see his face. All right, let's give Dr. Jen 2 more. There we go. Bring it back and up. And 1 more for the gram. All right. So he's going to show regression. Regression is simply bending at the knees or having someone hold your legs and going into more of a standard push-up position. You still want to make sure that you're reaching for the sky and keeping your arms at your ears when you come up. But we can bend at the knees to take some pressure off of the lower back. Whenever you're ready, Terrell. All right, good. Down. Good. Down. And the idea when performing these is making sure to keep a good tempo. Keep going, Terrell. We don't want to just rush through sit-ups. We want to make sure that we're staying in the eccentric and concentric phases for a good amount of time so that we're getting an adequate ab workout. And 1 more, Terrell. Very good. Excellent. Thank you, Terrell. Okay, Dr. Jen, common errors. I think I highlighted them already, but I just want to make, just going to recap in case I didn't. Curving of the lower back is definitely a common error. Sometimes if you're coming up and you have your arms behind the back of your head and your neck, pulling, like Terrell is doing, pulling at the back of your arm, at the back of your neck is also putting strain on your neck and your muscles. So that's a common error with the sit-ups. And then there are momentum sit-ups. So you want to perform those? And people think that using momentum to get up is actually helping them activate their core, and that's not the case. Now there is a time and place for momentum sit-ups, but that would require using momentum to get up if you can't get up, but then going back slowly, and that also will build your abs that way. Slow.
I'll fall.
Try it. So, all right, Dr. Jen. So Terrell is also going to demonstrate the floor leg raises for us. Well, you called them floor leg lifts. I'm hoping that I'm supposed to be doing leg raises because that's what I'm going to have him demonstrate. He's going to assume the same position he assumed for doing the the straight leg overhead sit-up, meaning he's going to lay on his back with his arms at his side and at attention. So Terrell, do you want to assume that position for us, please? With his feet close together, he's going to perform a leg raise, a double leg raise for us. And basically, he's going to be contracting his core as he does this. And he's going to, instead of sitting up for the sit-up, he's actually going to lift his legs up to about a 90-degree angle and then drop his legs down and make sure his legs come to about 6. I don't know what that meant, but make sure his legs come down to about 6 inches above the floor before performing the exercise again. He's going to make sure that his core is engaged throughout the entire process and that his breathing is rolled. So Terrell, can you start by elevating your extended legs into a leg raise position and then coming back down and perform a couple reps for Dr. Jen, please. And then he's going to lower it down to about 6 inches. Then he's going to come back up again. Good job, Terrell. Good controlled breathing and making sure that core is contracted. Very good, Terrell. Slow and steady. Very good. So now Terrell is going to demonstrate a progression. Going to keep one leg elevated about 6 inches above the ground while he does the leg raise or performs the leg raise with the other leg. Can you elevate one leg, please? And then perform. Bring it down just a little bit. There we go. There we go. He's making sure his core is engaged. He's making sure his back is flat on the ground as well. And he's monitoring his breathing. And one more. Very good. All right, and so now we're gonna have him regress this this workout, and it's simply placing your hands under your butt cheeks or under your hips. This is gonna take undue pressure and stress off of your lower back, and thus making the workout a little bit easier for you to perform. So he can still have his arms under his butt, he can still have his legs extended, but if he wants to make it even a little bit more easier, he can even bend his knees just a little bit. But he's going to demonstrate it with straight legs first. Terrell, extend your legs out. And then elevate. Very good. Come back down to about 6 inches, Terrell. Great. One more. And then back down, Terrell. Very good. Controlled breathing. Very good. Now he's going to bend his knees. And he's going to perform the same. And there we go. Very good. Good job, Terrell. Thank you. So, common errors. You didn't see this one, Dr. Jen, but right before I pressed record, Terrell demonstrated a leg raise for me, and it looked terrible because he got his butt up off the ground. So that is a common that is a common error. We do not want our butt coming off the ground. We want not engaging your core, not using your core to get up, using momentum of your legs to kind of swing yourself into that position. Sometimes, like there we go, thank you. Terrell also elevated his neck, and there are some people who keep their neck elevated and don't maintain neutral spine when they're performing the workout. So that's also another common error. And I think the last common error that I think is important is just not regulating your breathing. When you don't regulate your breathing, you don't have good control of your muscles, and it just kind of throws you out of balance, and it doesn't allow you to perform and execute the exercise properly. So that's it. I think we've covered everything. Oh, snap. All right. All right, Dr. Jen, so I am going to demonstrate how to perform a Russian twist. So basically, I like to think about getting into what I would consider a sit-up position with my back straight, my chest up, my chin tucked in a little bit, my shoulders back, okay? Making sure that I'm engaging that core. My feet, I do not want them planted on the ground, but I want my heels touching the ground, okay? Then I'm going to lean back to about a 45-degree angle, like so, holding this position. And then I'm going to twist from one side, making sure I twist my entire upper body, and then twist to the other side. Making sure that I'm engaging my core. So, okay, making sure that chin is in, my shoulders are back, my chest is upright, neutral spine, 45-degree angle, twisting. All right, so one way to progress the Russian twist, obviously adding some resistance, okay? I'm gonna go back into that position, make sure my chest is up, my chin is in, my shoulders are back. I'm gonna twist with the weight, twist with the weight, okay? Making sure to keep that 45-degree angle. I also want to make sure that I'm actually twisting my entire torso, okay? I want to engage those obliques, okay? So you want to make sure you're twisting your entire torso. It's not just a side to side movement like this. It's actually twisting the entire torso and abdominal region from side to side. So I showed you a progression with the weight. You can also progress by elevating your feet and performing the workout. And then you can regress it by, I think a simple regression really would be, okay, putting your feet flat for balance, okay? Making sure to twist the torso. Or having your feet one foot straight out and 1 foot bent. That also gives you some additional balance. Okay, common errors include hunching of the back and not keeping a neutral spine when in position. Another common error is not fully twisting the abdominal and torso region, okay? Not getting into the full twist, just kind of here, so short ranging of motion, okay? And another common error is pulling of the neck. If your arm placement is here for your Russian twist, you're kind of pulling here with that bent arc in your lower back and kind of doing this, okay? That's putting undue strain and on your neck muscles and increases your risk for injury.